Okay, to keep this video real, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my socks on. These are the hardest socks to get on that I've ever owned. They're compression socks. And on these YouTube videos, tell you what, let me close this door. On these YouTube videos, if you want to keep it real, that's what I'm going to do. During the pandemic, well, I've got that one wrong side out, or wrong side in. During the pandemic, it was kind of, or it's kind of hard to go certain places and do a video. You may have seen my videos that we did down at Arnold Air Force Base this week. We went down on Tuesday. I was working at Arnold when I celebrated my 62nd birthday. Well, I've got my socks on. Rather than look like a complete nerd, I'm going to turn them down a little bit. Back in my younger days, I always wore a beard. Or not wear it, grow it. And when we were quarantined, or not really quarantined, but everybody was told to stay home, so that's what I did, or that's what we did. And I think the last time I shaved was the end of March. So I've been growing this beard since the 1st of April, and I haven't had a haircut, and I haven't shaved since the 1st of April. When you do these YouTube videos, they're not easy to do unless you've got something that you're going to read, or you have a specific subject that you're going to speak about, which you can tell I don't today, but I needed to do a video. And what I thought I would do is just be as informal as I possibly can on this video today. But anyway, Tuesday I went down to Arnold Air Force Base, and on the outside of the main gate down there they have 3 aircraft. They were there when I worked there. They've got a 106 Thunder Chief, or that's a 105 Thunder Chief, and an F-14 and an F-15. These videos are not that easy to do, I tell you, because unless you're going to tell a long story, which I could do. Well, let me tell you about Arnold Air Force Base and how I came about going there in the first place. In 1999, during the dust up to Y2K, I was one of those folks that thought that some drastic things would happen, which it didn't. But the reason some of them did not happen is because they went in and changed all the DOS apps to accept a 4-digit date. And if they hadn't done that, they would have had some problems. But when 2000 came around, well, it was December, and it was just before Christmas, or it could have been a little after Christmas, I can't really remember. I was sitting in the living room in my home, and the telephone rang, and I answered it, and it was a consulting company, and they wanted to know if they could submit my resume to Arnold Air Force Base because they had a position open for 6 months to test computer reports. And I had had quite a few years' experience with the Bechtel Company in doing reports. In fact, that was my expertise. So I didn't want to sound too excited, but I really was excited. So I said, yeah, I'll go. And the way things work out, I joined the Air Force the 9th of January, 1956. And I went to work on that consulting job at Arnold Air Force Base on the 9th of January, 2000. And how ironic is that? The contract was for 6 months, and I was working on the base, but I was being paid by a consulting company. So when I left home, I told my wife that I may not be able to do the work. It's Gordon. But when I reported on the base, the software that they were using to convert their data was the same software that I had used working down at Oak Ridge. So it was a piece of cake. So rather than staying 6 months on that 6-month contract, I was renewed and I stayed 9 months. And during that time, I turned 62. And when I left Arnold Air Force Base, I signed up on my Social Security and totally retired. And between then and now, it's been it's been around 20 years. It has been 20 years. I've spent quite a few years developing websites. I developed a website for a local company, and when they asked me to do it, I told them, I said, well, I don't want to be obligated to update it, but what you need to do is make it as simple as possible, because most of the people that were producing websites, they were not producing websites to be intuitive. They were producing websites to impress other people who were doing websites. And some of the websites that you would go into, they would be so busy with things jumping here and so much that you couldn't really find anything. And I told them, I said, if you'll let me develop this, I'll do it in a way that I can teach you how to update it and make it as simple, because when people, especially if you're dealing in news, I said, when people come into that website, they don't want to see a bunch of rabbits or whatever jumping around. They want to get a synopsis of the news or other things that you're involved in and it should be simple. And they said, okay, that's what we'd like to do. So I produced a very simple website. And I'd like to say, and I'm not going to mention who it was that I did it for, but I'd like to say that this company was one of the few companies that really made money on their website. I mean, small companies. Because it was so friendly to visitors. A lot of times when I would go into offices in different places, I would see that the office personnel had that website as their favorite. When they would boot up their computers in the morning, they would have that website to pop up because they could keep track of local news. So it became, and it is still a success, but I taught them how to update it, and I really got to the point to where I didn't really want to fool with it. And eventually they found another company to maintain their website, and the company that upgraded their website, really they did a better job than I did for being user-friendly. And I sent them a letter and I told them, not the company that did the website, but the company that had the website, and I told them, I said, you know, you're doing exactly right. That company that's doing your website is doing a great job. And now I go in there a lot of times to check the news, and I personally think they did a better job than I did. But it's been a great success for that company. You can see my outfit here. I've got that computer turned off. I've got a forehead VCR that I can convert VCR tapes to digital. And I'll turn it on. You'll see this monitor come alive. I think I got it. Say this, I'm keeping this real. Yeah, that monitor is going to come on. It's I've got a desktop down here, and it's an i5, and it's hooked to this monitor. And this laptop right here, I'll just show you how all this works. This laptop was a gaming laptop for gamers, and it's an Asus. They upgraded it or came out with a new version, and they had these on sale. And I figured that if it was going to work on gaming, it would work on videos, and that's basically all I do. But I'll show you how. You can see I'm in my Facebook account. I'll come out of that. And you can right-click your mouse, and it's got the display settings. And right now I'm showing it. This is my monitor number 2. But you can go up here and you can duplicate. You can probably see them both fire up, and I can keep that. So now they're coordinated. But what I do is, and this one's booting up over here, I'm not going to put a password in it. This one's already signed on. But I use my laptop, which is an i7, to do my videos because it's powerful enough to handle about anything that I'm going to do. And rather than duplicate the monitors, I'm going to go on monitor 2. And you'll see that one go off and this one come on. So that's that. My computer room is a little junky. I've got stuff everywhere. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to buy a long table because I just have I don't have any wires going through anything other than a surge protector, other than I've got a soft light behind this camera, and I've got it plugged into the wall. And I keep my router plugged into the wall because I have to keep it on all the time to operate other stuff late at night that I've got going. But everything else is going through surge protectors. I'm a big stickler on surge protectors. I don't overload any outlet. And if you have a surge protector, why, that's what you need to do if you've got a lot of things. Of course, most of this stuff doesn't draw a lot of current. Of course, I've got my cell phone plugged in over there. And I've just got a bunch of stuff. You can probably see some of it over there. But that's what it takes when you have a hobby. And this is a hobby. So now I've invited you into my little world. So I'm going to turn this thing off. And I'm using a remote microphone. So regardless of where I move, the voice quality is the same. And I'm going to cut this thing off. You can probably see it. It's kind of hard to turn these GoPros off.